Hey everyone, Nicholas here from the Port St. Lucie Business Club with another monthly live stream. We do these live streams every 3 weeks or so. We try to bring on a local business expert, a local business owner, someone who can add some value and provide you with some tips and tricks and resources so that you can grow your business. Today, I am joined by Tim Crouch. Tim, you have done so many things. So rather than me introduce you, because you have a very extensive background in multiple industries, can you briefly tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and then where you're at today and what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my first business was personal training. So, I did that for about a year. And then I fell into the gutter industry. I was in the gutter industry for 20 plus years. Built a business locally here that I had for 10 years. I sold it last year. Then I launched Gutter Growth, which is a group coaching for the gutter industry. So I do that as well. I also dabbled a little bit into Christmas lights last year. Opened up Griswold's. We did pretty good for the first year. Did about 108 houses.
Hmm.
But through all that, I've ended up getting some experience using VAs, and it's very super valuable for businesses, especially businesses that want to utilize social media marketing and branding. So we kind of built our VAs around structuring it for social media marketing, but also having an admin there that could help you with like everyday tasks.
Interesting. So the newest business is all about virtual assistants and how people can get a virtual assistant or a team, and that's called secretweapons.io. How'd you come up with that
Yes.
name?
Actually, my partner did, and it's just because when you have like a VA that's you have plugged in 40 hours a week, and they're just working for you all week. It's like having a secret weapon because you're duplicating yourself, and you're able to get so much done that you're not able to do on your own
Hmm.
because you're wearing all your hats in your business, and it's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of a really inexpensive way to give away some of those hats.
Absolutely. Let's see if we have anyone in the comments here. Hey, Desiree, welcome. What's up? I'm frozen. Am I still frozen? Do I still look frozen, or did it?
Not on my side.
What's that?
Not on my side.
Okay. Desiree says I need that nerd mode shirt. Yeah. What's up with the shirt? What's the story behind that?
Nerd mode. It's a mastermind group that I'm in for coaches. So
Nice.
they sent it out, and I just like it. I'm in nerd mode.
I love it. I love it. Oksana, welcome. John, welcome. Awesome. Christine, welcome. See, we have a lot of people joining now. If this is not getting shared to our group, if someone can share it, sometimes I try to do that, but I got 100 different screens going on here. So please share it to our group, and then I'll make sure to get that approved right away. But yeah, so basically, what we're talking about for the next 30 minutes or so is how local businesses can utilize virtual assistants. So Tim, take us back to the beginning. For a business that wants to get started with a VA, what are some of the things they need to think about before hiring a VA?
So a VA is not like a robot working for you. It's a real person. All our VAs are out of the Philippines. They speak perfect English. Um, you want to go at it just like you want to with any other employee. Culture is a really important thing. So it's your responsibility as well to make sure that it goes smoothly. You want to be a good boss and create a good culture, so that they could help kind of learn what you need and follow through with it.
Interesting. Yeah. So when someone is choosing a VA, do you recommend that they start with one virtual assistant and then as the capacity expands and they have more and more needs, then to expand, or should they start by hiring a team? Like that's something that I've always struggled with when working with VAs in the past. I didn't know if I should go first with a team or first just hire one VA.
We have different packages, so we have like a package where you could do. We start off everyone at the 40 hours. I definitely recommend that you start off with one, kind of perfect it, and then start introducing some. But you could do a 60-hour a week, schedule, and that'll give you one full time
Hmm.
VA and then a part time VA. Or if you need more than that, you could double it up and have two full time VAs. which I do have, but I don't necessarily think anyone should start with two right off the bat. I think you should start off with one and just kind of perfect that and then introduce someone else into it after.
Work your way up. Yeah, yeah. Start. That's the cool thing about VAs, right? You can expand your team pretty quickly. It's not like hiring a full-time employee where you have to go through this long, arduous process. You can add virtual assistants. You can remove them. I think that's one of the real benefits. What are some of the other benefits that you found in working with VAs versus hiring someone full-time?
So, like most VA companies are kind of doing everything. So they might have a go high level VA, or they might have a VA that specializes in this or that. We didn't want to do it to where it's we got all this stuff to manage. So we wanted to kind of narrow it down so our VAs do a specific thing. Our VA's main thing is content creation and social media management.
Hmm.
So like what our VAs are going to do is they're going to make sure that you have a schedule for your social media postings, and they're helping you edit your reels, posting your stories, and it's going to cross multiple platforms. So you're going to have it on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, and X, TikTok, even YouTube. So it's just the main thing is most people they just don't. I'd say 90%, maybe more than that. No one's paying attention to their social media marketing.
Yeah.
And so it's, they'll do it, but there's no consistency with it. And so when you have a VA that's kind of their job, they're going to have a schedule set, and then they're going to hold you accountable to making sure that you're helping them with the content, because they're going to need videos. But they'll be there to hold you accountable to make sure you're doing it, and they're going to chop that up. It's very important that you put out reels every day.
Yep.
Those reels is what's going to help you get an audience that is not already in your following. And it's just most companies are completely ignoring social, and the way social's being used, they might find you on Google, but they're going to look you up on Facebook, and if they see nothing, it's definitely not going to look as good. They're kind of using it as like a background check.
Yeah.
So not only are you going to get leads from social, but people are using it as a cross-reference to make sure they even want to work with your company.
Yeah.
So our VAs nail that down, but you have them for 40 hours. It doesn't take 40 hours to do social and content. So they also do admin task for you. So they could handle scheduling. They can nail down all your KPIs, which is really huge because I feel like most companies don't know their numbers. And so if you have a VA in the background making sure you're dialing in all your KPIs, you'll know how much your marketing's costing you. You can break it down so you know how much your leads are costing you, what your job is actually costing you, what your average ticket price is. And you having all these numbers, you can make better business decisions. And you could do it for a fraction of the price if you hired someone locally. It's going to cost you $6,000 a month or more.
Yeah.
You could do it for a fraction of the price. I mean, you could have 4 VAs for the same price. You could have one person in person doing it. So it's very powerful.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point about knowing your numbers, knowing your KPIs, your key performance indicators. I was just listening to a YouTube video the other day by Alex Hermosi, who a lot of us know. Alex from acquisition.com. He wrote a whole bunch of really cool books about marketing and business, and he did a whole video, I think it was like a 50-minute video, all about knowing your numbers and how that's the number one thing that he'll ask an entrepreneur is like, hey, what are your numbers? What is this? What is that? What is your customer acquisition cost? What's your lifetime value? Like, you have to know the ratios between those types of things. That makes such a difference. So for anyone out there listening to this that doesn't know their numbers, make sure you know how much does it cost you to acquire a customer? How much are you making from that customer over the lifespan of that customer when you subtract the costs of delivering the services or the cost of goods sold? Like, you have to know that basic math because then you'll know how you can scale, right? If you can acquire a customer for $10 and you're going to make $100 off of them, it's just, it's a no-brainer. You can invest in Google ads, you can invest in Facebook ads. So not to get too far off topic, but I think that's an awesome use case for VAs, is to help the business owner know their numbers. Has that been
and honestly just
successful?
knowing those
Yeah.
numbers, that'll help you pay for the VA because you're going to
Yeah.
find where you're wasting your money,
Oh, yeah.
where you're not wasting your money. And it might cost you, say $100 for a lead source here
Hmm.
and $50 in a lead source there. Let's just call it Facebook. But knowing those numbers, you'll realize that it might be more worth putting the money towards the $100 one because you're converting more. You get a higher close rate and your ticket price is higher, so you're actually more
That's a good
profitable
point.
there.
Yeah.
Where if you didn't know that, you might think, well, I want the $50 leads. But if but that might not be the case. And in this number, you'll know exactly where you're wasting your money, where you're not wasting your
Yeah.
money. And we don't really have time to do that as business owners a lot of times because we're wearing so many hats.
It's
So
absolutely.
it's important to delegate that.
For sure. I want to welcome some of the folks joining us. We have Concepts LLC. Welcome. Desiree. Desiree has a question. I think this is a question. How can businesses determine hiring stateside, which could be more expensive, versus international, where it's $3 to $7? So yeah, how do you navigate the different pricing structures when you could hire a VA stateside versus you could hire an overseas VA much cheaper? What are your thoughts on that?
You just want a good VA. So I
Yeah.
mean, if it's in the States, it's going to definitely cost you more.
Hmm.
So like we can pay a VA over there, like for say our basic package, it's going to cost you $1,497 a month.
Hmm.
You're just not going to be able to ever get anyone in the States to give you 40 hours a week for that. So having someone in the States, you're just going to get less bang for your buck.
Hmm.
You might only get 10 hours a week for that. So I think it's having it overseas. If you got a good VA, you're just going to get more bang for your buck, and you're going to have someone there 40 hours a week. And if you're helping build that relationship with them, because it's a two-way street, you have to you have to do good at training, you have to do good at onboarding, you
Yep.
have to do good with communication, and it's just like any other employee. So you want to build that relationship with them and build that culture just like you would if it was an in-person employee. And you're
Yeah.
just not going to
For
ever
sure.
be able to get the same bang for your buck because people cannot live in the United States off $1,497. Over
Yeah.
there, the conversion rate, they're actually living a good life with it.
Yeah, and there might be certain tasks that are better for a stateside VA. For instance, something I've experienced is if you want someone who's going to get on the phone with your customers or clients, or if you're trying to get like an appointment setter, sometimes it's better to get someone in the U.S. not just for the language advantage, but also the time zone, right? So there's definitely a place for stateside VAs versus overseas VAs, and I think it's important to know the pros and cons of both. I want to welcome John. Welcome. John says VAs not only help with the administrative responsibilities of your business, but they will strengthen the digital presence of your brand, helping you win more customers. I agree with that. You agree with that, Tim?
Absolutely, and that's why we have secret weapons.
There we go. Right. Danny's joining us. Hey, Danny, what's up? Yeah, if anyone has questions, go ahead, put them in the chat. That's what we're here for. We're covering the topic of virtual assistants and how to get started. So let's say that a business owner is ready to get started with a VA or a team. What does the process actually look like to onboard? Like, do you have to go through some type of intake process so that the VA can learn more about your business, or what does that typically look like?
Absolutely. So when we sign someone up, we don't charge them for 30 days. It takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks to get the actual VA in place to start with you.
Hmm.
So that first 2 weeks, we're sending you emails and we're getting all kinds of information about your business and kind of amping it up. So we're getting ready for the onboarding. And then we don't like to charge for that first 30 days because we want to kind of nail everything down with your business the first couple of weeks that we have them in place. And then once everything's ironed out, boom, we start charging, and then it's just 14.97 a week. I mean a
And
month. I'm sorry.
what type of things are the team, or what type of things is the VA learning about when they're doing that onboarding process?
So like different softwares, like if you're using a certain CRM, you might want to introduce them to that. They're going to set you up a Slack channel, so
Hmm.
that way you'll have communications. If you want to, I would definitely recommend. I recommend companies doing meetings every week.
Hmm.
So like we do a couple of Zoom meetings a week with our VAs. So we do like two meetings, one on Monday and Wednesdays. What I personally do. So I think meetings are real important. It gives you that face to face, and you're building rapport. Um, but the whole thing is every business is different, and they have different needs. So that first couple of weeks is figuring out what type of admin needs you're going to need. And we like to do certain things like most companies are not nurturing into their lead base. Like they
Hmm.
have all these jobs. It might be a one-off service. They just never talk to the person again, or even if it's something that would be repeat, they just don't follow up. So we'll send a newsletter once a month. That way, you're nurturing, everyone that you've ever touched in your CRM.
Interesting. Yeah, so that's definitely an important use case for VAs. Or if you don't have a VA, make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're following up with all of your leads, following up with people that you meet at networking events. But if you have a VA to do that for you, that can make things a lot easier. Now you mentioned meetings, and I know it's sort of like I guess a contradiction in some ways because well, I'm just saying a lot of business owners when they feel like they need a VA, they feel like they need a VA because they have no time, right? They have no time to do anything. So if they had to do a one or two meetings a week with that VA, that can feel like more work for them. So is it possible to still get a high level of productivity and performance from a VA team if you don't meet with them weekly?
Absolutely, because you're going to be communicating them every day in Slack. But what you don't want to do is get a VA and just completely ignore them.
Yeah.
So I've kind of learned that through those meetings, it's very effective, very, very effective. And even if it's not a VA, you should be doing it with your team in house. Like it's a culture building thing. And if you do that, your business is going to take off a lot more because you're keeping everyone on the same accord.
Right. What do you typically cover during those meetings, or how long are the meetings?
So like our meetings right now, I'm putting on a summit. So it's an in-person event that we're doing in Georgia. And so like right now we're focusing a lot on that. They listen in. So even if it's not me just talking to the VA and it's just me and my partners, they're taking notes. Um, every morning we get a text message when they log in,
Wow.
everything that's on the agenda. Every day at the end of the day, they're going to text message you everything that was done.
Hmm.
Um, we like to keep like a Google sheet that's like live and interactive, so you could go in there and change it. And I like having like a task, a B task, and a C task. A being important, B meaning as soon as a task are done, like that's the next thing they jump on, and C is like something next week or the week after or something that need to, you know, keep an eye on down the road but needs done. So you can manage them through there by adding tasks in the system, and they'll know like if it's important, if it's not important. But if you're going to get a VA and just expect not, just here, take it, and they
Right.
don't do nothing, it just
Do it.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't work that way with a real employee either.
Right.
And
You have
that's
to
the
have
thing
structure.
to kind of keep in perspective that a VA is just, it's another employee that you're not paying five times the price for.
Yeah. I want to welcome Corey. Corey has a question. Are VAs background checked?
Our VA is background checked. Honestly, I'd have to ask my partner that. But we do have a process. We don't just hire anyone.
Right.
We hire some killers.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably some type of review or performance process where if they're not performing at a suitable level, they're probably not going to be with the company for long, right? I would imagine there's some type of
Right.
feedback that you get from your customers.
And if we had a VA that we put in place for someone and they weren't happy, we don't charge you for that month. We replace them and,
Got it.
move on.
Interesting.
So it's not something that you're going to be at risk of if something went south with one of them.
Yeah, it's not like a long-term contract, or it's not like hiring a full-time employee where, it can be you could find out pretty quickly that they're not a good fit for your organization, but then it could take a long time to correct that.
But I'm starting to really love the Filipino culture,
Hmm.
and they're hard workers, and they don't complain, and
Yeah.
they're very nice people, and they're like happy people. So they're just, I don't know, they're just really nice people. I haven't had any bad experiences with them yet.
I've heard very similar things as well. Want to comment? Let's see. We have a comment from Danny. Danny says VAs are a great way to buy back your time. I've used them in the past for cold calling and booking meetings with leads generated from my lead generation company. 2021 was huge for me for this. Yeah, for the lead generation and appointment setting process, VAs can be instrumental. So I'm sure is that a pretty common use case with your VAs, Tim?
Yeah, I got a VA right now doing cold calls. That's all she does all day. So
Yeah.
I mean, they got different uses and
Yeah, for
pretty
sure.
much do whatever. But ours are mainly focusing on making sure that they're building out your brand and your
Right.
social and your content, keeping you on track. And the admin stuff is just on top of it. And that's kind of depend on what your company needs to fill in that admin space.
Yeah, yeah. I think social media is a good starting point with virtual assistants because that's something that pretty much every business needs. You might not need someone to book appointments for you or follow up on leads, but I mean, we talked about it a moment ago, having that social proof that social media gives you, even if you're not getting a lead directly from Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, people are still looking at those platforms and you don't want them to just see an empty profile because that's going to reflect badly on your brand. So that's a great way
And you also you don't want to use it either as like ask for a sale, ask for a sale, ask for
yeah,
a sale. The point of it is for people to get to know you because they buy from who they know, like, and trust. And if you're just asking for free estimates on every single post, it's going to get real boring, and people are going to want to opt out of
right.
that.
It's like
So it's definitely like you want to give value. The more value you give, the more business you'll get.
yeah, there's a great book about this by Gary Vaynerchuk called Jab 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 Right Hook. It's a little bit outdated now, but the principle remains true where, jab jab jab, that's where you give value and then you can ask for the sale. That's the right hook and you want to give a lot more value before you ask for the sale. So I totally agree. We have a question from Christine. So VAs, are they solely working for one company at a time or are they working for multiple businesses?
That's a great question. We would never allow a VA to work for multiple businesses. So
Mm,
this is someone that you have solely to yourself
wow.
for 40 hours a week.
Interesting, because I know some VA firms they do it differently, where one VA might be working on like 50 different projects at a time, and it's just sort of task based, and they're context switching because they might be working for a local services company, a law firm, an e-commerce brand, and I've always wondered like how do they even do that because it's so chaotic.
Or the way that they're able to do that is because they're narrowed down in like a specific task.
Okay,
So someone will like hire a go high level
yeah,
VA, and that just doesn't take 40 hours a week. So
right.
I imagine they have to have something to fill up that time, and they have the time to do it. But our model is like having someone that's there for you, and they're your secret weapon.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the name, Secret Weapon. If anyone has questions, put them in the comments. Also, if you've used VAs, if you have VAs currently, if you are on the fence about using a VA, let us know in the comments. We just want this to be as informative as possible. Whether or not you end up utilizing Tim's services with secretweapons.io, or if you maybe VAs are not a good fit for you, we would love to hear what your thoughts are on virtual assistants and what your experience has been. Danny shared his experiences. Danny, I'm curious. You said you were using VAs, but you're not using them anymore. I guess. Are you planning on going back? Let us know in the comments. But in the meantime, one other question I had is when it comes to project management with VAs. At our agency, we actually use Asana, which is a pretty popular project management tool. Would your VA team be able to get into our Asana and be comfortable working out of that in terms of the actual project management, or is there only a specific way that they can interact on the project level?
So whatever software that you use, they'll absolutely be able to log into and get familiar with it.
Nice.
And if it's something super complex, that's going to come into where you're going to have to help train them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because they're not necessarily going to have worked on a specific niche, program before, but they're plenty capable of learning it and taking over from there,
Yeah,
or
for
getting
sure.
into any CRM that you need.
Yeah, and that's the good thing with
I'm
project
real
management
familiar with
software.
Jobber.
Which what?
I'm real familiar with Jobber CRM.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah, I know there's so many different ones these days, but at least with the project management space, there's some pretty big ones like Monday.com, Asana, Trello, Todoist. There's, I would say, the vast majority of clients I've worked with are using one of those rather than like some fringe task management
Yeah.
tool, but then you'll always get the one that's using like a Google Sheet or like a Google document. I'm like, I don't know how they do it, or Airtable, which isn't really for
Yeah.
project management. So that's good to know. Let's see if there's any other questions here. So Corey's considering a VA, but don't need for 40 hours. Okay, so this, I know it wasn't a question, but this brings up an interesting question. Tim, what if you had a need for a VA, but you don't need the full 40 hours a week?
I mean, how do you know that you don't? So, I mean, if they're not doing any social media, if you're not like on top of your social media marketing, they got 6 platforms to attend to,
Mm-hmm.
and content schedule to keep up with, and so that's super important. Like ours are geared towards helping grow your branding. It's like a marketing VA that also does admin tasks. So I mean, if you hire one of our VAs, they're going to take over all those aspects of a business, and that probably takes up half of the time.
Yeah, yeah, there's definitely a lot of work out there, especially with social media, with all the channels, especially if they're doing any type of light video editing. Is that something that VAs would typically be responsible for?
So we could do graphic design. We have a head graphic designer that all our VAs go to. So like if they needed help designing something, our head designer designs it. So we got quality control that way. Um, but, they'll do designs, they'll do video editing. If you're on a job site and you got some long form, even if you're not saying any words, you're just taking pictures or videos of processes. People like to watch processes,
Yeah,
so if it's you're pressure cleaning a driveway or you're painting a house, they kind of see those images, and they could break those down into like little 30-second videos. If you were doing long form, I don't know that, if you're the type of business that needs long form,
mm-hmm.
they could do your podcast, break that down into long form, break that down into shorts, and feed that out through reels. And the reels are just super important because that's what's going to give you an outside audience, outside of who's already following you. And then through those interactions, the VA is going to go in the background on the dashboard, and they're going to invite everyone that's interacted to start following you,
Yeah.
and it kind of starts to grow your audience.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that. And you've grown a lot of local businesses. What social channel do you feel is most powerful for local businesses? Is it Instagram, Facebook, TikTok? What?
I mean, I think it's definitely, I would have to say Facebook. I mean,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't sleep on any of them
Yeah.
because they all develop and they change their algorithms so often. I mean, even TikTok, you could have it to where it's locally. I mean, I have guys in my grouping or my group coaching that they do TikTok and they're actually getting business off of that because they're using keywords in their video, like what
Hmm.
city they're in, and then you got the location, like of the pictures and stuff. Google recognizes all that, and in your reels, they know where you're taking that video
Oh
at
yeah.
because your locations. So they're just getting better with the algorithms. You'll actually get. It's not like it's just going to the whole United States. They're nailing it down to where it's actually starting to hit your target market.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important. We don't just do one of them. We like to do all of them, and you're going to have
Right.
one of them that performs better than the other. I would suspect it would probably be Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook's definitely
Just
making a comeback, and groups are, in my opinion, the thing that's sort of keeping Facebook um, going. Right? It's the thing where there's a lot of engagement. I remember reading a stat where there's like the average Facebook users in like over 5 groups. So, have you had any success marketing local business services in Facebook groups specifically?
So that's how I became well known in the gutter industry,
Hmm.
is because I joined like all the gutter groups, and for like 4 or 5 years, I just commented on everything.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Gary Vee earlier.
Yeah.
One of his strategies is to comment. It's a little extreme, and nobody's going to do it, but he's like comment 90 comments a day.
Oh yeah.
So if you go in local groups, and because you have a group, so you don't want
Right.
people in there spamming and just like,
Right.
hey, this is my service, this is my service.
Yeah.
But if you go in there and you comment on everything you can and you give value-driven comments, you're going to start to make a name for yourself locally, and then people are going to find out what you do, and then you'll start to get a lot of business that way. So I mean, you definitely don't want to sleep on the local groups.
Yeah, I mean that's how this whole thing happened. I saw you commenting in our group. I saw, I clicked on it. I saw, hey, you have a VA business, which I did not even know about because I only knew you as like the gutter guy. And here we are doing a live stream. So I think that strategy, this is proof that it works. It's not a matter of like you didn't reach out and say, hey, I want to be on the live stream. It was just you
Right.
adding value to the group and helping others and, being in front of everybody, but not in a promotional way repeatedly. And then, these opportunities pop up. So yeah, that's the number one thing that I see happen in groups is where people they just promote, promote, promote. And it's, I mean, there's some
People,
groups that
they
are
get
for
kicked
that.
out.
Yeah, it depends. Like there's some groups where that's perfectly fine and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just
I find that
personally,
those groups will
yeah,
never give you business, though, because like
yeah,
everyone gets like the groups that are never giving value, and it's just post, post, post. Like people end up ignoring those groups. They unfollow them. Like the
yeah.
reason why I plugged into your group is because you were giving value and you had control over it, and it just wasn't a free for all.
Yeah. And there's a science to it. There's a method to the madness because I get this question all the time where people are like, "Well, I want to promote. Why can't I just, why'd my post get declined?" It's, first of all, we need to be fair, but second of all, like if everyone just promoted and you just put a bunch of advertisements in the group, it would actually kill the engagement of the group because I mean, this, like people aren't going to engage with a promotional post as much as they would with a question or something that helps add value for everyone. And if there's not engagement on the majority of posts, the entire group loses engagement, and then people don't even see it. So it's sort of like it defeats the purpose of even having a group if every post is an advertisement. So
I
that's why
say
we
if you
try to
did
limit it.
5 to 5, 5 comments a day, maybe
Yeah,
10 on local groups and different groups,
right.
that'll get you really far.
It will. It will, for sure. Let's
You
see.
can have
Oh,
your VA do it for you.
exactly, right? That's another good use case for VAs. Danny said, "My practice has evolved to utilizing power partners like estate planning attorneys, CPAs, and introductions to current clients. My practice is now more warm to hot leads, quality over quantity. I love that. I'm thinking for administrative work, it may be something I use in the future." Interesting. So it's interesting to see how some small business owners may have had a need for VAs and that need has evolved, but maybe there's a different use case for VAs in the future. So, Danny, thank you for sharing that. John says, great information. Thank you, John. Amy says, I love Gary Vaynerchuk. Me too. He just came out with a new book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm definitely going to
I
get that.
did. I read it.
Yeah. What'd you think of it?
It was good. Yeah,
Is
it was day trading
day
attention is what
trading
it's called.
attention. Day trading attention.
Very
Yeah.
good. You need to read it, and if you read it, you'll understand why you need a VA.
Yeah, go check out Day Trading Attention by Gary V. Hey, Richie's here from Leakbusters. Awesome. Pickpockets. Funny. Christine says, I like the engaging threads. Awesome. Oh, Richie, I know what you're referring to. Yeah, the pickpockets in the groups where they're just trying to get something out of
Yeah,
it without delivering any value. Yeah.
take, take,
Uh,
take.
well, we're going to go for a few more minutes. If there's any other questions that come in, put them in the comments. We'll cover anything related to VAs. But Tim, I also wanted to ask you just about your background as an entrepreneur. You've sold a business, you've sold a local business. Do you have any advice for local business owners who are thinking or they're at that point where they're thinking of selling? What things do they need to consider?
So to sell a business, if you don't just want it to be like you're selling your equipment and that's all you're getting out of it, if
Right.
you actually want to make money on it, you have to have systems in place. Like my business, I was running a gutter company, had like 12 employees, but my personal work was done at like 9:30, 10 a.m.
Hmm.
And I had salesmen, I had crews going out, I had an office manager. Like you have to have all those things in place for it to be super valuable or for you to expect to actually, you know, make money with the sale. Otherwise, it's just going to be, you're selling your accounts or you're selling your equipment and you're not really getting much. So you definitely need to have systems in place, and the more removed you are from the day to day, the more valuable your business will be.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I know Richie would agree as well because he's a big systems guy. He's the owner of Leakbusters Roof Repairs, and I know we've chatted
I see
many
those
times.
guys everywhere.
Oh yeah, we've talked a lot about systems and processes, and he's built an amazing organization with an incredible sales team. Richie, we're gonna have to get you on a live stream in the future. But yeah, having systems in place and having a team that you can delegate to, that I think it just makes it so much easier if you do want to exit a business, because then it's not, they're not buying you, they're buying that organization. So that's so important. Danny says, awesome explanation. Christine says, great information. I appreciate the tips and the different techniques. So many options for the VA. Amy says, I missed the start of the session. Do you advise on using Gemini? Interesting. So Gemini, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the AI from Google. It used to be called Bard. Now it's called Google Gemini. It's the competitor to ChatGPT. Yeah, Tim, we haven't talked about AI. Where are you with the whole AI thing? What are you doing there?
You need to not sleep on AI because I heard that it's about to become 30 times more advanced than it
Wow.
actually is now. And I have no idea what that means, because it's already pretty advanced. But I every day, you know, um, I cooked dinner tonight and I looked for a recipe. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I'm using it for that, but it's definitely very valuable in business. You could have it rewrite your content. Um, I use it for writing content all the time. But the thing is you want it to be personable. So the better you are at prompting AI, the more you'll get out of it. Like I don't want to just have AI write something and it sounds absolutely nothing like me. So I'll write a couple paragraphs and say, hey, this is kind of how I talk. Try to keep my tone, and rewrite it. And so it'll rewrite it, and you know, if you're starting a business and you don't know what to name it, you can say, hey, give me 50 business name ideas.
Yeah.
Now you got 50 names. So I mean, it's almost endless what you could use it for.
It's incredible.
And
Yeah.
and I don't know what it means that it's about to become 30 times
It means we're all in
smarter than it
trouble.
is now, but who knows? But you don't want to sleep on it, and then it just keeps getting more advanced, and now you're behind.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend, using AI, and our VAs are all very familiar with using AI, so
Good.
you will have AI being used.
Yeah. I'm glad you're pro AI because I think if we're not using it, it's gonna overtake us in a way as business owners, and we need to be on top of it. But Amy, to be a little more specific with what you're asking, so you're asking about Gemini. I think we all have different preferences for what AI we like best, like Coke or Pepsi, right? It's a preference thing. But one thing that I'm starting to realize is that different AIs have different use cases. So for me personally, I like ChatGPT as the general AI that I use most often. But what I find that Gemini is better at, in my opinion, is research. So if you're doing any type of long research, I think that's just because Google has so much knowledge already indexed. And then there's another one called Claude.ai, that's owned by a company called Anthropic. I find that that one's the best, in my opinion, for long form writing. If you wanted to write like a long blog post. Now, is that just my opinion? Yeah. Is it something you should explore? Absolutely. So I would recommend testing out Google Gemini, Claude from Anthropic, and OpenAI's ChatGPT, and sort of see after a couple weeks which one you like best, because there's so many, but those are like the three big ones. Christine says, great information. Let's see. Nicole, welcome. Team Leakbusters in the house. Thank you for joining us. Corey says, thanks for the great advice about VAs, processes, KPIs. Very valuable. Danny says, succession planning, exit strategy, just a little selfish promotion. That's right. Danny is, he's not only the event director for the Port St. Lucie Business Club, but he is a wealth manager and financial advisor with DV3 Financial. So he could talk for hours about exit strategies. We'll have to do that on a future episode. Danny says you have to evolve with it. Richie says if you don't use it, it will be used against you. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's
Lucretia,
like
thank
what
you.
Gary Vee
Yeah.
says. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what your personal opinion is. You
Yep.
might not like social media, or you might not like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. It doesn't matter. Like if there's eyes there and you're not
Yeah.
there, you're going to get punished for not liking it. So it's
Right.
not about liking it. It's about being where you need to be and being where the eyes are.
Right. Attention. I mean, there's a reason why Gary Vaynerchuk's latest book is called Day Trading Attention. Attention is one of the most powerful things that a business owner needs to be able to cultivate. Not because, oh, we have a big ego, we need to be in front of everyone, but because you need to capture attention if you then want someone to know you, like you, trust you, and eventually buy from you. So you have to utilize the power of attention. I mean, it's a perfect title for a book. So make sure you check out Day Trading Attention. So as we wrap up, Tim, we covered a lot. If someone wanted to check out secretweapons.io and get started with your VA firm, where can they go to do that?
So you can go to our website. It's secretweapons.io, and you can book a discovery call with me on there, and we could hop on a Zoom and we could talk it out. Or you could just sign up on there. Or
Fantastic.
you could reach me. You could text me or call me at 561-294-1433. I prefer text, but I take calls as well, and you can reach out to me directly too if you want. Or
Nice.
I'm on Facebook. You could DM me there too, Tim Crouch.
Tim Crouch. Oh, what about Instagram? Are you on Instagram, TikTok, any
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
on
others?
Instagram.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll put your social handles in the chat in a little bit. But yeah, anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I mean, the reason why we started Secret Weapons is so that we could put, a secret weapon in your possession, and you could have
Yeah.
something a little edgy to competition.
I love the name. Well, one other announcement we want to make for everybody watching this is that the Port St. Lucie Business Club is going to be having our next in-person networking event on July 19th. That's not this Friday, but it's next Friday. It's an early morning event at 7:45 a.m. because we alternate. We do evening events and then we do a morning event every 3 weeks. So this is our morning event. So join us July 19th, 7:45 a.m. at Boulevard Hair Boutique in St. Lucie West, right here in Port St. Lucie. It's going to be a lot of fun. We usually get 40 to 60 people there. It's free. I didn't mention that. It's free. We're going to have Panera catering. So for all those details, make sure you are in our Facebook group. Just search for the Port St. Lucie Business Club if you're not in there already. We look forward to seeing you there, and stay tuned for future live streams. Tim, thank you so much for joining us. You've shared so much information. It's great that we have you here in our local community here on the Treasure Coast, and we look forward to chatting with you more in the future.
I appreciate you having me on, Nicholas.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Have a good night.